Kalaye sundarakaram sadaika priyadarshanam Ajnananashakam devam sadgurum Muralidharam. With the immense grace of our beloved Guru Maharaj, Maharanyam Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, and by the causeless mercy of Sri Madhuri Sakhi Sameta Premika Varada Thakurji, we are all trying to explore the 26th chapter of the third canto, which gives us the complete outline of Sankhya Matam, which is Sa Ishvara Sankyam. It's called Seshvara Sankyam, which is in contrast to what is called as a Nirishvara Sankyam. And we be following Bhagavata Dharma are the adherents to only Seshvara Sankyam. In the 26th chapter, our Sridhara Swami says specifically two Lakshanam of the chapter. What is the characteristic of this chapter? The characteristic or Lakshanam of this chapter is, this chapter is different from other chapters because it uniquely shows us the Vivekam or discrimination between Purusha and Prakriti through Sankhyayoga. And it also enumerates all the other categories which are created. And it also talks about the causes of other Prakrita categories. That which is Aprakritam has no cause. So all the Prakrita categories, starting from Mahat, Ahankara, Panchabhutam, Pancha Indriyam, Pancha Tanmatra, and the four types of Antakarna Vrittis, all that is being enumerated and its Lakshanam is defined. Lakshanam characteristic, defining characteristic is called Lakshanam. And our Sridhara Swami hastens to add that this is not the Nirishvara Sankhya, this is the Seshvara Sankhya. And we already saw that these 24 is the most important number in Sankhya Yoga. These are the 24 categories of Prakriti. And Purusha is not in any of this. Purusha is separate. Purusha is Nityam. And these 24 categories of Prakriti is what we are going to see today. And this 24 is a very significant number. The Gayatri Mantra, which is the seed for the entire gamut of the four Vedas. Anantave Veda. It all came from this 24 aksharams of Gayatri Mantra. So all that which is knowledge in Shabdamaya Prapancha came from these 24 lettered Gayatri Mantra. Similarly, the Arthamaya Prapancha, which is the Padartha Prapancha, and also that which is the manifested universe, also comes from this 24 aspects of this 24 categories are what is this whole world, in everything which we see in this world. And everything which is the seer of this world, all that is there within this 24 categories. That's why we have in Kanchipuram, when you go to the Parama Purusha Darshanam, which is Varadaraja Swami, you have to climb a small hill called Hastagiri. And there you have to cross 24 steps to go and meet him. And even the worship is modeled towards the Shabdamaya Prapanjam, which is Veda Mata. And our Varadaraja Swami is known as the one who is shown by the Vedas. Varadaraja Swami is the source of Vedas. And Varadaraja Swami is the divinity which gives us the understanding of Vedas. And so Vedas come from these 24 letters of Gayatri. So we cross 24 steps to meet Varadaraja Swami. Seen from the Prakriti side of it, the 24 steps in Kanchipuram means once you actually transcend these 24 categories of Prakriti, then we can have the darshan or sakshatkara of the Parama Purusha who has this 24 categories as his Shakti or his manifestation of his Shakti. And until we transcend Prakriti, we cannot have the Parama Purusha's darshan. So there are 24 steps in Kanchipuram. And this is how beautifully Tattvam and Tattvam of Shabdam, Tattvam of Shabdhartham, or what we call as Padhartham, all that is encompassed in the worship of Bhagavan. So when we do worship, it is not random. And the Tattvam is basically based on what the manifested universe is. Tattvam is not diverse from reality. Obviously, Tattvam nale truth nanartham. So it is based on the truth can be seen from a Padartha Prapancha or the Pada Prapancha. Padamna Shabdam. Padarthamna manifested universe. You find that unity in the actual design of this whole universe, whether it is Shabdam or whether it is Shabdartham or Padartham. And our worship is in line with these two. Why I'm telling you that is today we are going to talk about Upasana. And how we do the Upasana, how these Upasanas are helping us in going towards the goal of our Sakshatkara or moksha is what we are going to see. So these 24 categories, we have been repeating it pretty often. So you must be now thorough about these 24 categories. 5 gross elements, what is called as Bhutam, Panchabhautikam it is called. That which is the result of the confluence of 5 bhutas is called Bhautikam. That's why we call this body as Bhautika Maudal. Bhautikam nale, it is made of 5 elements. The physical body, Annamaya Kosham, or this physical gross body is made of 5 gross elements. So we call it Bhautikam. And then we have 5 Sukshma elements, which is Shabdasparsa, Rupa, Rasa, Gandham. And just like how the Prapancha has a gross body, it has a Sukshma Sarira, etc. We also have the same thing. We are the microcosm of this whole universe, isn't it? So 5 subtle elements are the actual qualities of the 5 gross elements. It also serves as the cause of the 5 gross elements. As we have been seeing in the various talks, that which is subtle is cause for the gross. So it is not that the air came to existence, and because it came to existence, we are able to feel a quality of all called sparsam nilla. Sparsam, the idea, sparsam, the subtlety came first. And that subtlety found a medium in form of a bhutam called air. First, eppume idea, mind. Vishwam manasa evavanu solrade. Bhagavan first imagined this universe, that consciousness which is infinite, that which is Bhagavan. Imagine this universe first. And then from that imagination came this universe. A potter first thinks of the pot in his head. He does the design of the pot. His design of the pot is cause for the pot, not cause for the mud. It is the cause for the mud to be transformed into a pot. Mud always existed. That which came in between is only the shape and the design. That shape and design, what is the cause for it? A potter's design. He decided that mud, which is just a clump of clay out here, let it be designed or fashioned into a lovely pot with a small neck in the top and an opening on the top. And so he made a pot. So when you ask in a very high perspective, what is the cause of this pot? Apart from the material cause, which is the mud, the real cause of this pot being a pot is the design or a thought of a potter. And that is the reason why subtle things are always the cause. Gross elements, etc., are only the result of the subtlety. So each time when we say cause, effect chain, you find when there is a gross cause and a gross effect in a very alpa vishayam. Subtle cause lane the gross effect vardu da real sukshma vishayam. So gross cause lane the gross effect vardu even a buddhi will find it. So you don't need shastras for it. But to trace a gross effect to a subtle cause that a normal human intellect cannot do. So rishis, out of their intuitive knowledge of shastras, have revealed all this to us, which is the intelligence of Bhagavan himself. And so 5 subtle elements are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandham. That's why if you see repeatedly in the 3rd canto, you're going to see sometime that first thirst came. It wanted to drink something. Only then mouth came. Because there was this need, it was the cause. And the need gave rise to a physical design of a human body or a human universe, etc. So when you see from this perspective, Just like how these scientists in the West are completely convinced that there is no design in the universe because they come from a totally different perspective, outside in. Since we come from inside out, we can't just imagine how can this universe with so much order and so much beauty exist without a design. So these are two views, point of views, and depending from where you come from, it becomes very difficult for us to see the other points of view. But the beauty with our Sanatana Dharma is what is called as Purva Paksham, is it considers all points of views and it gives some very strong logic to dispel that. And the only problem here is it needs to take Shastras or Vedas as a pramanam to dispel that. Which generally people who think intellect is God or Brahma, Bhagavan, Nanikravan, they can't accept something which is verbal testimony of a person who has transcended Prakriti. They are not able to take because they call it subjective, you see. But my way of looking at it is when we look only at an objective common to all type of an evidence, it is a mediocre evidence because not all are going to be jnanis. Not all have that experience. If you have to say what I see is what you see, it will always be the prapancha of that which is seen. But if you want to go into a seer's prapancha, then it has to be revealed by somebody who was a seer called Maharshi. So that is the reason why we have an edge, because we have those exceptional people who have seen beyond. And since we look at their life and we know that they had no agenda, they had no axe to grind, etc., it is called Apta Vakyam. Apta really a well-wisher. So we are given an extra advantage of seeing something beyond just the physical gross manifestation of the universe. And then we have the four internal organs, Chittam, Buddhi, Manas, Ahankara, which is what we are going to see today. Very, very involved way of looking. And then the five organs of perception. We are working on a book, isn't it, for our youngsters who are typically brought up with the Western education in the East and in the West, both in Asia or Europe or America. Our own youngsters are working on the book. In that, we sent the book to a psychologist review. And that psychologist said, don't say it is organs of perception, call it only organs of sensation. Because perception is something to do with the brain. That's exactly the point, you see. So since she raised that point, I did a little homework. ரொம்ப தெளிவாவே ஞான இந்திரியம் தான் பேர். So ஞானம்னாலே there is a portion of brain involved even in a sense organ, you see. And how it is involved, I don't know. But we call it as ஞான இந்திரியம். And so it also encompasses a little bit of brain, if you please, because that's not how we modeled. We don't model our worldview with purely a physicality. Brain, let us look at brain function. We see it in a holistic view, saying there is a function of me interacting with the world. So I have 5 channels of interaction. So I take the whole process of it, which means, right, it's called sambandham, sannikarsa sambandham, light falling on an object, that light, reflecting from an object. They have put a complete process flow chart of how do I see an object. What is that which sees? Vedanta, how it's a digression, but I'm just showing the beauty in the ways of thinking. Idum matanta. Vedanta says anything which is seen is possible only because of Chaitanyam. உனக்குள்ள இருக்கிற சைத்தன்யம் போய் அங்க interact பண்ணி it is now picking that object, comes back into Ava. So they say it is the Chaitanyam or consciousness which pervades that object, gives you the cognition. Not just light coming, falling, அதெல்லாம் போறாதே. You need consciousness. So it is a consciousness which goes and encompasses, or it goes and reflects that object. அப்படின்னு சொல்றது. It is a little more involved, higher perspective. First Sankhya புரிஞ்சிட்டாதான் வேதாந்தம் புரிஞ்சிக்கும். And that's why before we go to Shruti Gita, etc., we should know Sankhya's way of looking at stuff. That serves as a wonderful, what do you call, a base or substratum for us to see in a higher way, which Shruti Gita is the Vedantic way of looking at stuff. Idu Vedantam, but that way of looking would be very, very higher level. So our Shukamuni, for the Vedanta Rasikas, you see, He is now preparing Vedanta Rasikas with Sankhya so that you can relish Shruti Gita and other higher stuff in the 10th canto. Ashrayan. Shruti Gita Ashrayan. It is there in the 10th canto only. And for Bhakta Rasikas, of course, to understand what Bhakti is, he slowly prepares us so that all our chinta, all our problems are all taken care. And then we can relish Bhagavan Sri Krishna's Prema Leela, etc. Both are there. So here, a Rasika would not compartmentalize. He wants to be a Vedanta Rasika or the Tattva Rasika, a Bhagavat Rasika, Brahma Rasika, and even Paramatma Rasika. Rasa and Latni Rasan, Krishnan. And so that is how you want to enjoy it. When you say you want to relish the qualities of a person, or Guru, or Bhagavan, I want to relish all his qualities. Why should I cherry pick some qualities? So Brahmamo Krishnanda and Paramatma Krishnanda, Bhagavanu Krishnanda. I want to relish all the three aspects. And depending on my Ruchi Vedam, I may have one relish a little dominant over others. So here, 5 organs of perception, which is ears, tvak, sight, taste, and olfactory. We have the 5 organs of senses, 5 sense organs, which we call as organs of perception. See, and adanalda they say sense organs. We say it is jnana indriyam. So which means that gives me the jnanam of that which I see out there. Adu varaikkum my indriya has to, spread its scope. And that's why, because and the pramanatha vechina we do everything. How do you know this bottle exists? It is because of pratyaksha pramana of sight. That pratyaksha pramana of the sight encompasses my cognizance of a fact that there is an object before me. Apada the pramanamagum pramakaranam, that which is the source of right or genuine or undisputable knowledge. When you say ears are my pramana for shabdam, pramana knowledge, jnanam. You see, so for me to get that vishaya jnanam, whatever needs to encompass in my body, I have to encompass, because idea is not to study my body, idea is to transcend it. So I need to model my body, model my interaction in the world in such a way that I understand these are the categories. And finally, I need to transcend all the 24. So that is the idea of Sankhya and that is the reason why it is modeled this way. Otherwise, if you take purely physiologically, then you say eyes, and then you say brain is different from eyes. I want to separate. So I say eyes are sense organs. And here in Sanskrit, it's called Golakam. There are a bunch of flesh on the face, which actually helps me to receive that light in the small aperture, pupil or whatever you call it. Alda Golakam. But for me, my whole idea is I want to understand how I interact with the world so that I can win over it. You see, if I don't even understand how world is interacting, world doesn't interact, is jadam. How I interact with the world, how can I win over an enemy without understanding how that enemy works? Even if you are a Vedanti and you want to win over the world, first you have to understand how this enemy works, what are the moves he has. So we have 5 moves here. And these are the 5 things where our world interacts with us. And that is the reason why Sankhya Yoga is trying to understand all that. And we have the 24 elements out here. And then you have the 5 organs of action, which is typically, if you want, not exactly, but you can say that it's the input-output model. 5 organs of perception receives the inputs from the world. And 5 organs of action is what it gives back as an action based on the inputs. Generally, when you do things with an action, it is because you have seen some things or you perceive something. And so it generally that input leads to output, generally. The input is typically outside, but the input can also be inside, which is a small, ripple of what I physically saw earlier. So for example, I'm sitting here, I don't see the water tank inside, but I saw the water tank or the water bubble or whatever, water sprout yesterday. Though I don't see and perceive it, my mind has remembered that. And so when I'm thirsty, my legs take me to that place. But if you actually map it, it all will come to, I know it is there because I saw it yesterday. So finally, organs of perceptions are the ones which gives us inputs for us to actually do an output of an action, you see. And so this is how 24 elements covers everything which is physical, Prakriti, theory of everything for the universe. The next level is this 24. And if you understand the 24, you have understood the whole universe, including my mind, intellect, etc. Consciousness is tani yoga. So that is different. You see, that which is not conscious, that which is jadam, and everything is encompassed in this 24. Then came a question, what are those four? Mano, Buddhi, Ahankaras, Chittam, Iti, Antaratmakam, Chaturda, Lakshyate, Bhedo, Vritya, Lakshana, Rupaya. The internal organ or Anta Karanam. Karanam na organ. Anta na internal. So Anta Karanam is seen to have four aspects. You see, they are not four distinct organs, etc. Four aspects, and the four aspects of the inner sense organ called, Antakaranam has mind, Buddhi, Ahankara, and Chittam. And see the order, it's very important. Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chittam. Iti Antaratmakam. Their distinction lies in their functions with respect, which represent their characteristics. So, depending on the function, the same unitary internal organ is categorized differently with different characteristics or lakshanam based on their vritti. The example given was air. When the air is blowing gently, we call it breeze. And when the air is going a little fast in circles, we call it as a tornado, right? When the air is blowing very strongly in one direction, we call it the storm, etc. But finally, it's all air, you see. So depending on how the air's motion is, and the air's direction is, and the air's intensity is, we label it as a different phenomena, isn't it? Likewise, the same internal antakaranam, depending on its function or what function it is doing right now, it is characterized. Now, this gives us a very clear understanding that the internal organ cannot do multiple functions at the same time. You see, at any given fractal of time, the internal organ can do only one function. Only then we can categorize. Then I have to make a new category for a combined function. I'm analyzing, I'm thinking, and I'm also remembering, and I'm also determining in the same time. Then it's not possible for me to give a category. It is possible for us to categorize because at any given point of time, this internal organ can either be a mind, or it can either be a chitta, or it can either be a buddhi, or all this very subtly is connected to me as an identity, as the ahankara, you see. So this is what it is as the internal organ, right? So let us now look at, so finally, they say, etavanyeva sankhyato brahmanaha sagunasyaha sannivesho maya prokto yaha kala panchavimshakaha. So these are the 24 sankyato brahmanaha sagunasyaha sannivesho maya prokto. So these are the 24 categories. And this is what what we called as saguna brahmanaha. So this is what is called as manifested Brahma, or the conditioned Brahma, saguna. Gunatoda kudina Brahma. Gunam nale Prakriti, you see. So that Brahma along with Prakriti, which is manifested as this universe, has this 24. And no other, no other, yaha panchavimshakaha kala. Then you say, some call kalam as the 25th category. Now he is going to explain about kalam, which we saw. I want to come back to that. Prabhavam paurusham praguhu kalam yekeyato bhayam ahankara vimudasya kartuhu prakritim yushaha. Some people speak kalam or time as potency, the destructive power of Purusha, which causes fear to the doer, which has come to associate himself with Prakriti and deluded by ego. You see, arising out of self-identification of the body. Oh, the beauty is, Chaitanyam or consciousness. When consciousness decides to interact with a Jada Tattva, that's what is called Kalam. You see, consciousness, conscience are called Kalatitam. Jadam does not know time at all. So when there is this very strange and a very difficult to comprehend interaction between conscious and Jadam, that's what is called Kalam. For example, for a person who is in Samadhi, there is no Kalam. Why? He or she is constantly immersed in that state of consciousness. Kalam does not dare to enter there. You see? And for a person who is liberated, there is no Kalam. So he is completely, or she, they are now in that state of consciousness. You see? But when this consciousness is somehow interacting with that which is Jadam, அதுதான் காலத்துடைய லட்சணம்ன்ற. ஒரு உதாரணம் சொல்றேன். When you are in the state of attention, can you perceive time? ஒரு சாதாரண பிராகிருத attention. I'm not in, I'm not even in samadhi. When I am completely putting my attention onto something which I love, I see no passage of time. And that's what I call anandama, happier. The moment I lose my attention, which is I'm out of this state of consciousness, time comes, and you see the time is dragging slowly, etc. Why? Because nothing to do with what happens outside, it's everything to do with my attention. So that's why they say Kalam is Paurusha Prabhavam. Kalam is not an independent category, it is the power or the potency of Purusha, and they look at Kalam in two ways. So on the Prakriti and the consciousness interaction, then a Kalam, when can you see that interaction? Only in two places. One is doing Pralayam, another one is doing creation. This is an interaction. Nadula, it is a bundle mix of both. When the whole universe is sustained, it is an interplay of consciousness and Jadam. But there are 2 points which are called singularity points. And that's when time can be discerned properly. You say time nitya, but at the time of the lakshana, the interaction between consciousness and Jadam happens during the time when Bhagavan decides to create, or during the time when Bhagavan decides to completely dissolve this creation. So these 2 points of Pudicha, we can understand what time is. That's why he says it is the destructive power of Purusha which causes fear to the doer, which has come to associate itself with Prakriti. So since the doer is associating himself or herself with Prakriti, and the Kalam is going to deprive me of Prakriti. Prakriti can exist manifested during creation and sustenance, the sustenance land. But before creation, it was not manifest. And after destruction, it is not manifest. So Kalam is the one which shows these 2 important milestones in this cycle of this universe. You see, that the time when it is created, the Kalam, Takkani, it is manifested. So it is always the potency of Bhagavan. But how does it manifest? If you want to know the manifestation of the time, look at the origin and look at the dissolution of this universe. Okay? Or origin of the world, dissolution of the world, and the singularity points are our triggers for Kala. And for us, we don't know about the world, we know about my world. The same Kalam is the source of fear for my world. What is my world? My body, my family, my house, and my neighborhood, etc. But that Kalam also is going to show one day all this is going to be left, all that which is manifested has to go. And that instills fear in the doer, because the doer thinks, I am a karta, I am actually in the body, and all the actions are done by me, and this body is I. That Kalam creates fear, because Kalam is going to make sure that which is an effect goes back to the cause. That which is manifested has to go back to unmanifested. So that is what we call nasham, destruction. You are with me, I hope. If you have a pot is made of mud or clay. And when you say pot is destroyed, all that it happens is it goes back to where it came from. So it was unmanifested pot as mud. and then it gets manifested as pot when it is in existence. When it is destroyed, it goes back to this unmanifested form called mud. Likewise, Prakriti is manifested in form of Panchabhuta, Manasi, or Indriyas, etc. And when it goes back to unmanifested, world as we know it is gone. That creates fear. Because I identify with only what I see. I identify with my body, which is a manifested Prakriti. But this body is temporal. It has to go. And so the time is the one which triggers the creation of this world. And time is the one which triggers the dissolution of the world. So while the world is sustained, you can know the time. But you can't know time. You have to look at the origin story or the dissolution story of time. You see, when I say origin story, dissolution story, now don't think time started there. Time manifests there. The work of time is seen there. Otherwise, time is chup-chop like a flow. Like a constant flow, time is always there. But during origin and during dissolution, the work or the uniqueness of time can be seen. You see, for example, if somebody is silently working behind the screen, right? Silently is working in the stage behind the screen. Suppose you want to know who is that person who is working behind the screen. On the screen, before it is opened, that fellow will be going around adjusting things inside the stage. Find him before the screen opens. Or you can find him exactly when the screen closes because he is going to undo whatever he did as a setup before the screen. During the drama, you can only perceive very subtly his presence, but you can't know his characteristic. You see? Adinala is taking two things. Prabhavam paurusham prahu kalam yeke yato bhayam. So how do I know manifested time when I am ajnani na? Bhayathil therinjuko kalam non. That which gives us bhayam is kalam. That which gives us shokam is kalam. That which gives us chinta is kalam. I'll tell you why. Simplest way to understand it is, if I am enjoying what I do as Krishna's arpanam na, kalame kedayadu. Why? Because I am happy with what I am doing now. No bhayam for me. But suppose I do an activity for a result. Time comes in and then gives me fear. How does time comes in? Now my activity is divorced from result of an activity by time. So now I am doing something, I am afraid because I am not sure will I get the result. Now I have diverged this activity from its fruit because I am not paying attention to the activity, I am not relishing the activity, I am not doing it as I'm very grateful that I've been given an opportunity to do karma yoga as Krishna Arpanam. No, Panita, time cannot come in. But the moment I do an activity and say, I don't know what is the result. For example, exam and result. Okay. You write an exam now, how can you not be afraid until you get the result if we write the exam for the result? So time separates psychologically an activity and its perceived fruit, and the perceived fruit activity, what comes in is time. You see. But in that state of attention where I am loving that activity, I am doing it as a gratitude offering, etc., bhayam does not come in because kala does not come in. And the whole problem is, when I look at myself as this body, obviously I know I am subject to the ravages of time. Because the moment I think I am the body, it came during some time, which is my date of birth. And one day I'm going to lose it, and I call it date of death. Idella time dane. Adunala da I actually have fear. So the time oda lakshana romba achidi. And once we associate ourselves with Prakriti, we are deluded by ego. What happens is we identify with the body, and then time comes in form of fear. Antarbahi purusha kala rupaihi. If I am in the state of attention, my entire state of being is inside with Purusha. You see, Krishna Arpanam na Purusha nodadar when I am doing. So time does not come in because I am now inside me as my antaryami. But the moment I do it for my body, for my name, for my fame, for my possession, for my aggrandizement, etc., then what happens is I am moving away from Purusha. Avaladan kala rupi. Ulla amritama irukku, outside mrityuva irukku. So bhaya. Prakriter gunasamyasya nirviseshasya manavi cheshta yataha sa Bhagavan kalayiti upalakshitaha. And then he's saying, oh daughter of Mano, Lord himself who activates Prakriti, which is the another name for the equilibrium of three gunas, which admits no name or form, is also Kala. Remember, I told you 2 points of singularity. And that singular points of creation of this universe, not this Big Bang and all that, a small cycle. The creation of the design of this cycle of universe. I hope you are with me. Because Sankhyayoga talks about universe, try to see if whatever we know about whatever we heard from science, etc., is this universe, Big Bang, etc., is merely this kalpa, which is the 51st year of the first day of Brahma's life. Now we are talking about Brahma's 50 years back, which is a lot of zeros, 14 zeros put on. And that is the amount of time this whole cycle of universe, starting from the pralaya, started. That is what is time now. Big Bang la time vandadala chinna vishayam. Adu vandu because we are using intellect, that's the maximum we can go, that's the glass ceiling. But don't imagine there are nothing above the glass ceiling. It is merely a glass ceiling. There are stuff above it. And that's what Shastra say. Prakritehe gunasamyasya nirviseshasya manavi cheshtayataha sa Bhagavan kalayiti upalakshitaha. He is saying that this that which the Bhagavan himself is activating Prakriti. Prakriti was in complete equilibrium. When it is in equilibrium, no movement is there. No action, no productive stuff happens. And the given example was metronome. When metronome is in the center, it's in equilibrium. So no action is there. It is there. Metronome is always there. But the function of metronome was in a potential form, in form of the two springs it has. Then a potential energy there. The moment something metronome cannot activate itself suddenly one time. Some external agency has to activate it. Newton's law, right? So when you need something to activate it, who activates it? Lord himself. Lord himself. And so he says, Bhagavan himself activates Prakriti, which is the name for equilibrium of three gunas. And that is a state when there is no name or form, no activity, no movement, no vibration. And that prabhava or that trigger given by the Lord to activate Prakriti is called Kalanta. You see? And the example we saw that is the one who wake up in the morning. Who woke up in the morning? Anda. Who was the cause of me waking up? I didn't have anybody else to wake me up. I didn't have an alarm. I didn't ask my mother to wake me up. So I woke up on my own accord in the morning. How did you do that? I have the power of waking up in me. I don't need an external agency to wake me up in the morning because how did you have that power? Because this is what I've been doing for time immemorial, you see. And so because of that vasana of waking up at exactly 6 o'clock, I was able to wake up. So that which triggered my sleep, which was in the state of darkness. And imagine, mind is not there, intellect is not there, all silent in the deep sleep. But something comes and disturbs it. And immediately I see all this universe when I wake up. What is that which disturbed the dark equilibrium of sleep? Kalam. What is this kalam? Yenoda Shakti da. Yem prabhavan da. How did I get that prabhava? By constantly doing it again and again and again. During that exact time, the trigger for me to move away from this dark equilibrium of deep sleep happened. Adudam Bhagavat Prabha. You see? அதே மாதிரி கரெக்டா 10 மணி இந்த நைட்டு தூக்கம் வருது எப்படின்னா காலம். You see? Because during that time, I have habituated to எவ்வளவு distracting universe, so much of sensationalism in this universe, all that. ஒரு 10 மணி ஆச்சுன்னா அப்படி அடங்குறதோனா. And then I go back to pralayam, again time. So time I won't know during my waking state. I know the time. I know 10 minutes past, 20 minutes past. The time, the characteristic I know when I wake up and I go to sleep. Imagine that, not for Jiva, but for Paramatma. Not for Brahma, not for Indra. Paramatma ku pata, adha real kalam, which is defined as a category, which is Bhagavat Prabhavam. Our pralayam is also called Nitya Pralayam. Every day we go to sleep now, that's also called pralayam. That is Jiva Pralayam, you see. And when I wake up. And then death is the next level pralayam. And then death of the manifested universe, as we see with our eyes, etc., is the next level pralayam. The complete dissolution of the design of the universe also. Adulende ella subtle karana ella abdi adudha maha pralayam. Pralayate nala pirichita. So that you can understand the big stuff with a model of a small pralayam which we experience day in and day out. You see? And that is what is kalam. Kalam, if you want a simple definition, is this very beautiful interaction between that which is conscious and jada, which creates or triggers the creation of the universe or triggers the dissolution of universe. Angadan kalam. Adhan kalatudaya lakshanatha padikira idam. So antaha purusha rupena kala rupena yovaihi samanvetyeshaha sattvanam Bhagavan atmamayaya. In this way, the Lord himself, who by his own maya, which is his energy, jada shakti, abides unaffected within all living beings as the Purusha and outside them as a Kala. The moment mind or Chittam goes outside Avdina Kala, then you are caught by this rules of this game called Kalam, Swabhavam, Karma, Ellam Prichin. But the moment you go inwards in Samadhina, no Kala. The same Purusha inside gives us Anandam of Samadhi, outside gives us Dukkam of Kala. So Kalam, Purusha. And why is Bhagavan called Kala Kalanni? If you surrender to him, he will grab you to his feet and you can win over Kala. Kalanna poi Kalathalam kollalam illa Bhagavan. Avaruடைய own Shakti adu. If you surrender to him for Jnana, Bhagavan will give us Jnana, and so we will abide in the Purusha inside and hence win over the Kala, which is the manifested. Mind going outward is Kalam. Mind going inward is Purusha. Mind going outward results in Mrityu. Mind going inward to its own source results in Amrityu or Amritam. That's why it is said, Samatvena Sattvanam Bhagavan Atmamayaya. So the Lord himself, by his own Maya, by his own divine Shakti, abides unaffected in all living beings as Purusha, as their Antaryami, inner controller. And outside Bhagavan exists as Kalam. And so if you want to call it as a 25th category if you want. But we don't see that Kalam as any different from Purusha Prabhavam. So I don't need to add it also. It depends. If you want to add, what is the big deal? You see? And that's why we say Kalaha Karma Param Brahma Prakriti Purushastadaha Panchaite Sashvata Nitya Nisham Nasho Hi Vidyate. Kalam cannot be destroyed. So Kala Kalanna in Artham, one who is the time of the time or the one who finishes of time. As far as you are concerned, you are taken away from Prakriti into Moksha by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So Krishna can be called Kala Kalan or Mahadeva, Parameshwara, Loka Guru or Jagat Guru, Kailasapati is called Kala Kalan because if you surrender to Dakshinamurti, he can completely relieve us from this net or the jal of Maya, and he can give us that moksha. So he is Kala Kalan as far as you are concerned, not as absolute Kala Kalan. Relative to you, you have won over time. Why? Because you are abiding in the Purusha. But Kalam is an eternal principle. Kalaha, karma is eternal principle. Karmana not for me. As a complete samashti of all jivas, that karma will always be there. Why? Because karma becomes zero, then there is no need for the universe, there is no need for creation. Creation can't happen. The whole creation happens because of the sum total of unused or unexpensed karma of jivas, sum total of all jivas, right? So that is how karma is there. For example, if everybody manages their budget, etc., you don't need a budget, deficit. Sum total, the country has some positive, negative. Budget. If everything is balanced, everything is self-sustained, do you need a budget? But it will never come to pass practically that a country needed no budget at all because everybody managed their own self-sustained. There will always be imbalances, there will always be interdependencies, so there will always be a budget and ramari. always, karma will always be there for jivas. So now you may ask a question, Apo, all the jivas kare eduthu or state varumanna? Parave. That's number greatness. You see? I like the dream better than the real state. That is the reason why there is intoxication and all this addiction, etc. Right? Because though they know it is not true, it is irrational, it is completely, unreal, hallucination, they like it better. And Kalaha Karma Param Brahma na Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Prakriti means the Shakti of Bhagavan, eternal. Purushastada, Purusha na all the jivas. So all the five are eternal. Adu anjivateda. Kala Karma Param Brahma Prakriti Purushastada Panchaite Sashvada Nitya Naisham Nashohi Vidyate. This is what we call as Bhagavata Dharma philosophy. And if you want to combine all this as one, sa ekaha abdina vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon moolanam, second sloka of Bhagavatam, what it really means is that kalaha is purusha prabhavam, karmaha is nothing but the sum total of all the jivas, residual activity. Param Brahma is Bhagavan's Swarupam itself. Prakriti is Bhagavan's Shakti. Purusha or Jivas are nothing but Bhagavan's Amsam. So everything Amsa is no different from Amsi. And, the Shakti is no different from Shaktiman. And the Prabhava or the potency is no different from the one who has that potency. So, you can bunch all this into one by the eternal relationships each one has with each other. You see what I'm saying? You can't separate jiva from karma. Jivana irkarde karma nalada. Baddha jivana. So you can't separate jiva from karma. You can't separate jiva from Ishvara because Amsha and Amshi. Amsha and Amshi na element and, I can't even say that. Amsi na portion, Amsha is the whole. Let's take it that way. And Prakriti and Parama Purushan or Param Brahma is, Param Brahman Shakti is Prakriti. Shakti cannot be separated from Shaktiman, Abedam. Kalam is Parama Purushas or Bhagavan's Prabhavam, potency. So, Yellam Garcia, Otangita Pinikal. Yarina Krishnan, Satyam Param Dimahi. So, five are eternal. And all the five are completely analda Araga center. This is Sri Anna Slokam. Param Brahmataya center la potarna in the rend and the rend sernd the Bhagavan was there in Alakai Mari. Our Bhagavan Sri Krishna is in the center. These two are not independent, those two are not independent. Only one independent Vyakti or Vastu is Param Brahman. You see, and all the other four are dependent on him, eternally related to him. And so you can say there is only one, which is Bhagavan, with his Shakti, with his Amsha, and with his Amsa's, karma, and its Prabhava called Kalana Uttar. So when you say, for example, a good singer came, when a singer comes in, say, Tyagaraja Swami Vandar, Tyagaraja Swami came along with his singing skills only, with his singing talent only. He came along with his angam only. So when you say Tyagaraja Swami came, we meant not only did Tyagaraja Swami as one entity came, he came along with the associated entities, which is his capability to sing, his power to sing, his manifested form, and he also came with his tambura. Tyagaraja Swami tambura Adinala, all this which is associated eternally with him makes the whole thing as one. So Tyagaraja Swami Vandalnale, ellar Vandana artham. You see, including his capability or the talent to sing everything. Likewise, this is Bhagavata Siddhanta. That's why there is space for Advaitam, Vishtadvaitam, Dvaitam, everything in Bhagavata Siddhanta. Analada, when you see our Namadvar website, we said, whatever philosophy you may follow, be true to it and chant the divine name. Swamiji did not give that as nice You see, if you say all these are different, you have a Siddhanta. All these are same but distinct அப்படின்னா ஒரு சித்தாந்தம். All these are one அப்படின்னா ஒரு சித்தாந்தம். So Bhagavatam has, because it is Krishna and Krishna is common to all siddhantam, our Bhagavata siddhantam has scope for all the that is why Bhagavatam has been commented upon by all siddhantis, not for siddhantam, for Krishna Anubhavam they commented. That is the beauty of our dharma. We are not dogmatic at all. We have completely space for everybody, and the underlying absolute essential requirement is love towards Krishna, love towards Krishna Nama, love towards Krishna Katha, and love towards attaining Krishna. You see, that is something basic, that's spiritual, isn't it? That is the reason why Mahatmas have embraced Bhagavata Dharma to unite all of us as Sanatana. These are spiritual aspirants or healers, right? And now the Shakti of Bhagavan is 3. This is very important. We have to understand. Kladini or Shakti. That Kladini Shakti, as per Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, is called Neela Devi. As per our Bhagavata Dharma Sampradaya, அதே சக்தி தான் ராதா தேவின்னு நம்ம கொண்டாடுறோம். வைகுண்டம், கோலோகம்லாம் இதெல்லாம் நம்மளுடைய ஒரு பாத்து போகும்பொழுது this is the experience we'll have, right? So for normal people to understand, we can say வைகுண்டம், கோலோகம்லாம் சமமா இருக்கக்கூடிய லோகம். லோகம்னாலே இது வந்து ஒரு don't take it as a பிராகிருத லோகம், இதெல்லாம் அப்ராகிருத லோகம், where it is the experience of consciousness தான் எல்லாம் இதுல. So people who do Dasya Bhakti, Maryada Bhakti to Vasudevan, Bhagavan, Paravasudevana, Vaikuntamdra experience they will get, which is eternal. If you do it as Radha Krishna Yugala Sarkar, abdinu parthomna, then we go to Golokam. Anga Neela Devi with Bhagavan, the Kladini Shakti of Bhagavan, one who actually gives joy, that is the source of joy for him and source of joy for all those people who surrender to him. Adi yaar kudukrana? Radha Devi. So it's the Radha Devi who actually trigger இந்த குழந்தைக்கு மோட்சம் கொடுங்கன்னு அந்த கிளாதினி சக்தி தான் ட்ரிகர்ஸ் பகவான். அதனாலதான் இந்த நம்ம பாடுற பஜனை எல்லாம் சும்மா நினைக்காதீங்க, எல்லாம் வித் சவுண்ட் பிலாசபி. யூ டோன்ட் நீட் டு நோ தட், பட் அதுதான் இந்த பிலாசபி. சும்மாலாம் இல்ல, ஒரு எப்படி கேட்டால் கண்ணன் அருள்வானோ அப்படி கிருபை செய்ய சொல்லி தருவாய் ராதேன்றார் இல்லையா? டெல் மீ ராதா தேவி, ஹவு ஷுட் ஐ ஆக்சுவலி ப்ரே டு பகவான் சோ தட் கண்ணன் அருள்வானோ, அப்படி கேட்க எந்தனுக்கு அருள்வாயின்றார். So our Swamiji is saying, grace me with the method of praying to Bhagavan in such a way that Bhagavan will be pleased with me and grant me what I am asking. ஏன்னா அந்த அஹ்லாதினி தான் கிருஷ்ண பிரேரணகரி அப்படின்னு வருதோ. இந்த ஈவன் இந்த ராதா தேவி அஷ்டகம் வீசி ஒரு வார்த்தையும் சித்தாந்தம். கிருஷ்ண பிரச்சோதனகரிம் ராதிகாம் பிரணமாம். பிரச்சோதனகரிம்னா ஒன் ஹூ ட்ரிகர்ஸ் தட் பிரம்மம் டு ஆக்ட். பிரம்மம் பிரம்மமா இருக்கும். அந்த பிரம்மம் டு ஆக்ட் யூ நீட் ராதா தேவிஸ் பிரச்சோதனம். அதனாலதான் we worship as யுகலம். ராதா தேவி இஸ் பகவான்ஸ் ஆக்சுவலி சைத்தன்ய ஸ்வரூபிணி. அவர் என்ன, அதுல சந்தினின்னு இருக்கு, சம்வித்னு இருக்கு. So you have 3 Shaktis and it is called Iccha Shakti, which is Radha Devi. Kriya Shakti is the Jada Shakti, which is what is called Sandini. And the Kriya Shakti than the world arc. See, Kriya Shakti of the 3 Shaktis is the only Jada Shakti of Bhagavan. And Iccha Shakti and Jnana Shakti are not Jadam, Chaitanya Rupamat, right? And the Jnana Shakti da is Bhagavan's omnipresence, omniscience. Omnipresent nale omniscient nu artham. If he is everywhere, he knows everything. You see, that omnipresence or omniscience is the Jnana Shakti. And Bhagavan being Antaryami and running this body, etc., Allah Jnana Shakti vechin பண்ணிருக்காங்க. And the sum total of all the jivas are the aspect of Jnana Shakti of Bhagavan. And the Jnana Shakti தான் Bhagavan as Kaustubam அப்படின்னு வச்சுருக்காங்க. You see, அதுதான் பகவானுடைய ஆஸ்பெக்ட் ஆஃப் அம்சி தானே. ஸோ பகவானுடைய அம்சமா நம்ம இருக்கோம். We are all portions of Bhagavan's consciousness. That is also what is called as Para Prakriti by Bhagavad Gita. It is also an aspect of Bhagavan's Jnana Shakti, right? And Sandini, Kriya Shakti da is this Maya, right? So Maya போக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு மாயை என்னும் பேயே அப்படின்னா அவர் சுவாமி saying, மாயை என்னும் பேயை ஒரு க்ஷணத்தில் விலக்கி அப்படின்னா பகவானுடைய சக்தியை போய் இப்படி அது சொல்லல. மாயேங்கிற இந்த அஜ்ஞானமான இந்த ஜடசக்தியிலேருந்து என்ன விலக்கி என்ன பண்ணணும்? ராதாதேவின்ற ஹ்லாதினி சக்தி கால்ல போடுன்னு. சோ சந்தினி அப்படின்னா ஜடசக்தி, which is கிரியா சக்தி. And some with அப்படிங்கிறது தான் ஞான சக்தி. So இந்த top 3 terms are typically Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya's names. The Shakti Trayaya, Akiladhi Gunaya, Prapanna Palaya, Duranta Shaktaye. Bhagavan has many Shaktis. Adila main இந்த 3 Shakti. Bhagavan has infinite potencies. The 3 main potencies or the 3 categories are these 3. இதைத்தான் நீலாதேவி and பூதேவி, நீலாதேவி and லக்ஷ்மி, ஸ்ரீதேவின்னு சொல்றோம். லக்ஷ்மி தான் டிபிக்கலி ஞான சக்தி, பேதம் கிடையாது, பட் ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ல தான் we are talking. கோகுல கிருஷ்ணா, பிருந்தாவன கிருஷ்ணா பேதம் கிடையாது, பட் ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ல we are trying to see differently. So please don't imagine பேதம் between லக்ஷ்மி ராதே எல்லாம். ராதா தான் லக்ஷ்மி, லக்ஷ்மி தான் ராதா. You see, and so you have these 3 Shaktis, ஞான சக்தி, கிரியா சக்தி, and this potency of creation is Sandhini. And the Jada Shakti that has become the universe. And the Jada Shakti became the universe because of prerana of this Hladini Shakti. அதனால இங்க இச்சா சக்தி, இச்சா தானே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வரும். ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். முதல்ல இச்சா வேணும், ஞானம் வேணும், then only we can actually do the kriyana. So soka mayata அப்படின்னு the Vedam is saying Bhagavan decided to create. So Bhagavan had the Iccha to create, and the Icchaye ஒரு Chaitanya Shakti. So it is Radha Devi who is doing prerana of Bhagavan. Please create this universe, because she saw all these jivas completely locked down in this total state of suspended animation. She says, Porme, let create a universe so that at least they can go out is dharmam, artham, kamam, moksham, something let them do. அப்படின்னு ட்ரிகர் பண்றது யாரு? மதர் ஆஃப் த யூனிவர்ஸ் ராதா. அதுதான் இச்சா சக்தி. And a potter decided, I like to make a pot. அதுதானே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ட்ரிகர். Without the icha, ஞானா இஸ் யூஸ்லெஸ், கிரியா இஸ் யூஸ்லெஸ். இச்சையே இல்லைன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. பாட சொன்னா எனக்கு பாட பிடிக்கல அப்படின்னு உட்கார்ந்தோன்னா ஞானம் இருந்தா என்ன பிரயோஜனம்? கேப்பபிலிட்டி சிங் இருந்தா என்ன பிரயோஜனம்? எனக்கு பாட பிடிச்சிருக்கு அப்படின்ற இச்சா வரும்போது என்ன ஆகுது? ஞானம் கம்ஸ் and then it expresses itself in kriya. அந்த ஞானம் and இச்சா are all chaitanya swarupini. கிரியா மட்டும்தான் ஜட ஸ்வரூபினி. And that is the reason why this Maya, which transformed itself into the universe, is only a Jada Shakti of Bhagavan. Bhagavan did not become the world directly in the sense, only his Jada Shakti called Kriya Shakti became this world. You see? And since Shakti and Shaktiman are inseparable, we say cause of the world is Bhagavan. You see? அதுதான் பாகவத தர்மம். புரியணும். தேவாக்ஷுபீத தர்மின்யாம் ஸ்வஸ்யாம் யோனோ பரஃப் புமானே ஆதத்தஹ வீரியம் சாசூதஹ மஹத்தத்வம் ஹிரண்மயம். இதுதான் ரொம்ப கிரிட்டிக்கலான பார்ட். இது வரைக்கும் எல்லாம் சிம்பிள் தான். இங்க இருக்கிறது தான் ப்ராப்ளம். Now here, this is என்ன இவ்வளவு பெரிய விஷயம். நீங்க 40 வருஷம் எந்த யூனிவர்சிட்டியில படிச்சாலும் இந்த நாலேஜ் இஸ் டிஃபிகல்ட் டு கிராஸ்ப். We are talking about the highest cosmology. இல்லையா? மேக்ஸ்வெல்ஸ் ஈக்குவேஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஈஸி கம்பேர்ட் டு தட். ஏன்னா அதெல்லாம் பிசிக்ஸ் லாஜிக்கலா புரிஞ்சுக்கலாம். இதுக்கு இன்ட்யூட்டிவா we need to pray to Bhagavan to get that ஞானம். ஒரு குரு கிருபையில புரியக்கூடிய விஷயம். And we are doing it because this is the way to test how much guru kripa is. Now we are also struggling to get. So here when devat kshubitaha dharminyam swasyam yono paraf puman, he is saying when the supreme person placed his energy in form of chit shakti, chit shakti சொல்லிட்டேன் இல்லையா? ஞான சக்தி தான் chit shakti, into his own maya. அது என்ன சக்தி? கிரியா சக்தி. The source of all created beings, equilibrium of whose gunas have been disturbed by destiny of various jivas, the maya gave birth to Mahattattva, which was full of light. இப்போ புரியுறதா? இவ்வளவு அழகான விஷயம். இது ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் கொடுப்பேன், நீங்க கரெக்டா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். When a child is born, it needs the work of a father and a mother together இல்லையா? இங்க all are done by Bhagavan's Shakti only. இந்த சித் சக்தி அப்படிங்கிறது தான் ஒரு source, and the Jada Shakti or Kriya Shakti is the second source. When these two Shaktis together come, and then Bhagavan says அவருடைய சித் சக்தி ஞான சக்திய கிரியா சக்தியில போடுறதுனால the first sprout of this universe comes in form of Mahattattva. For example, the same song example, you have to use intuitive knowledge to understand this. First, it is not being told here, but obviously, Moonavar Shakti is the one which triggers. Our Radha Devi told Bhagavan, create a universe for the children. Adoda Radha Devi's job is over. And Bhagavan said, come and be in our presence. Let us create the universe. Iccha Shaktiyum, Parabrahmamana Krishnanum together, they are now next level. Enna pandrana? And the Kriya Shakti la, and the Jnana Shakti serum poludhu, then what happens is the creation starts. For example, as I said, a singer wants to sing before Bhagavan. And so he or she comes and very happily says, I want to sing. Iccha. Iccha's job is over now. And the Iccha has to continue till the end, isn't it? Iccha nadula pedna song okay. When the Iccha Shakti illa ipdi avladhan pochu song. You see? So Iccha Shakti is now in the background. Adum sakshiya pathan along with Bhagavan. So imagine Iccha Shakti and Krishna is there. It is like a child coming to Namadwar and wanting to sing. Iccha Shakti is there. Now it is going to sustain all through. And then, now for the Kriya or the actual song to take place, you need Jnanam. You need the actual Jnanam, which means you need the vitality to sing. You need the grammar to sing. You need the actual, wisdom or knowledge to sing. That's Jnana Shakti. And then you have the Shakti to actually translate a subtle Jnana into a physical song. That's Kriya Shakti. So, this rendu serum poludhu, sa pa na ahankara, adudha Mahattattva. Modalla. Oru Shruti aan panni vitta madri. Adile irundha ella onnonna varaporudhu. Our Swamiji says na, and Sapta Swarangalil Vilayadum Pannai Pol Abdingarda in the Sapta Swaranda base Adula or infinite games within the Sapta Swaranda, all these things which are manifested. So on a cosmic scale, Bhagavan, he put his energy na avarudiya Shakti. Since we all know birth abdina namba human birth vechi paakradanaala, generally we use this examples, you see. But here what it means is avarudiya Jnana Shakti or Chit Shakti has been placed, that energy of his Chit Shakti into his own Maya, which is Samvit nu solrom, Sandhini nu solrom illaya. It is what is called as a Kriya Shakti. Sandhini abindra Shakti da Kriya Shakti. So he put his Samvit into Sandhini, angabi abhi setu utta rendayum. Setu utta enna aruduna, the first steps of creation starts. Right? Let me go and put that here. So take your time to understand, it's perfectly okay. We can understand rest of Bhagavata Siddhantam. Then we understand Yadukava Pooja Pandrom, why Yugala Pooja, why are we singing so much of songs to Radharani? We will have Bhavam there. Radharani as Sagunam is also true. Radharani's Tattvam is also true. We are in the path of Bhakti. So, இப்போ எப்படி கேட்டால் கண்ணன் அருள்வானோ அப்படின்னா நம்ம யார்கிட்ட அப்பீல் பண்றோம்னா highest consort of Bhagavan கிட்ட we are appealing, and she being Karunamayi will immediately bestow us with that knowledgeங்கிற அந்த ஒரு பாவத்தோட, so that we have Mahatmya Jnana Sudrudaha Sarvato Adhikasneha Bhaktiriti Uchyatene. இந்த philosophy புரிஞ்சுண்டு பூஜை பண்றோம். இந்த philosophy we understand and do கீர்த்தனம்னா அந்த கீர்த்தனத்துல the bhavam has a better chance. If we have that divine love, அப்படிலாம் இருந்தா நம்ம விரஜவாசி. அப்ப இதெல்லாம் அவசியமே இல்லை. அது இல்லாததுனால இதெல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். As far as Sukamuni is concerned, ஒரு ஞானத்தோட சேர்ந்த பக்தியை தான் காட்டுறார் அவர். அண்ட் ஒரு சுத்த பிரேம பக்திங்கிறது எக்ஸெப்ஷன். அதெல்லாம் பெரிய விஷயம், நோ டவுட் அபவுட் இட். பட் அது இல்லாத பட்சத்துல ஞானத்தை வச்சுட்டாவது பக்தியை சேர்த்தோம். Swamiji gives a lovely example. Prahalada Swami had natural love towards Bhagavan, our exception. Dhruvan Mari, ஏதோ கஷ்டப்பட்டாவது பக்தியை சம்பாதிக்கணும் இல்லையா நம்ம, அப்படிதான் நம்ம நிலைமை. அது மிஸ்ர பக்தின்னு பேரு, அது சுத்த பிரேமன்னு பேரு. சுத்த பிரேமா இஸ் கிரேட் ஒன்லி. பட் இல்லாத போது என்ன பண்றது? we have to do only Mishra Bhakti. அழுது ஜபம் பண்ணி நாமா சொல்லி திரும்ப திரும்ப கிராட்டிடியூட்ஸ் மரணம் பண்ணி 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 பக்தியை நம்ம வளர்த்துக்க வேண்டியது. தானா வந்துருதுன்னா no problem. Likewise, if we have this tremendous love and faith for our divine couple 100%, சித்தாந்தம் தேவையில்லை. அப்படி இல்லாத பட்சத்துல புரிஞ்சுட்டு பண்ணணும், இல்லைன்னா விட்டுடுவோம். இது ஏதோ இது பண்றோம், இதுவும் நல்லா இருக்கு சார், அதுவும் நல்லா இருக்குன்னா அப்புறம் you miss the whole point. இது என்ன மாதிரியான ஒரு சித்தாந்தம் சுவாமிஜி has blessed we should know. எவ்வளவு ஹையஸ்ட் விஷயம். ஒரு யுகல பூஜைன்னா யுகம் யுகமாய் வரும் தவத்தின் பயன்னா அதுதான் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஏன்னா நமக்கு ஒரு பெரிய லாபம் by Guru Kripa and Krishna Kripa we are going to get, which means completely transcend this Prakriti and be in that state of love and liberation. சாதாரண விஷயமா அதை ஸ்மரிக்கிறதுக்காக. So when the Supreme Person placed his energy, Chit Shakti, into his own Maya, இது Jada Shakti. So the whole universe is the interplay of Chit and Jadam தானே, Chit Jada Granthi தானே, அதான் அழகா காட்டுறாங்க. So without this confluence, which is a very imagine பண்ண முடியல, கான்சியஸ்னஸ் இஸ் கான்சியஸ்னஸ், ஜடம் இஸ் ஜடம், ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் எப்படி வந்ததுன்னா பகவானுக்கு இது ரெண்டும் சக்தியா இருக்கிறதுனால அவன் தான் கோத்து விடுவான். தானா நடக்குமோ? So here another important thing which mainstream science will not teach us is consciousness is not the result of jadam. இந்த சிட் சக்தியும் ஜட சக்தியும் சேர்ந்துதான் இந்த யூனிவர்ஸ் இருக்குங்கும் பொழுது அட்லீஸ்ட் டேக் கான்சியஸ்னஸ் as first among equals. You see, even though we know consciousness is supreme, அட்லீஸ்ட் அது இன்னொரு சப்ஜெக்ட் ஐட்டம் ஆஃப் அதர் ஜடம் மில்கி வே கான்சியஸ்னஸ்னு போட்டுறாதீங்க. You see, because அது தனியா இருக்கு. அட்லீஸ்ட் கீப் இட் ஈக்குவல். Actually மேலதான் இருக்கணும். You see, so Chit Shakti and Jada Shakti together, Maya, the source of all created beings, equilibrium of whose gunas has been disturbed. Now what happens? And the equilibrium of all the gunas, which means metronome not moving, அப்படி disturb பண்ணி விட்டுருது. And what disturbed it na, ரொம்ப அழகா சொல்றாரு பத்தில, it is the sum total of the papa punya karma of all the jivas which are the trigger for the universe. Bhagavan ஏன் இப்படி படைச்சான்னா உங்களாலையும் என்னாலையும் தான். நம்ம கர்மா தான் is the fuel for this whole creation. And so Bhagavan does not randomly do, why he is a compassionate, எல்லாம் ரைட்டுப்பா. The way in which this mundane world is shaped by all our karma. Bhagavan has given us buddhi. Deer does not manufacture karma. Trees does not manufacture karma. Dogs don't manufacture, they only expend karma. Only we humans manufacture karma. So Bhagavan has given us buddhi, Bhagavan has given us vivekam, Bhagavan has given us the capability to reflect, and he expects us to at least our karma let us manage na. Mathadallam Bhagavan manages. The overall system is managed. Only thing which needs to be managed is Bhagavan, who empowered us with consciousness as Chit Shakti inside, and also created the universe with a clear understanding of vivekam in us to do our karma properly. அது பண்ணா வேர்ல்ட் எல்லாம் பகவான் பார்த்துருந்தாங்க. நம்ம வேர்ல்ட பார்த்துக்கணும், பாப்பம் பண்ணக்கூடாது. as far as possible avoid பாப்பம், as far as possible do as much punyam possible, as far as possible do as much divine activities. This is how you truly care for the world, because rest is all systemized. And இதுதான் பியூட்டி. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரியான அச்சுபிச்சு கேள்வி எல்லாம் வராது if you understand the சித்தாந்தம். இல்லைன்னா ஒரு சின்ன டிஸ்டர்பிங் சீன் பார்த்தா கிருபாலு பகவானே அப்படி பண்றான்னு எங்க போறோம் நம்ம, நான் தானே காரணம் அதுக்கு. இட் இஸ் மை கர்மா விச் இஸ் த காஸ். பகவான் இஸ் கம்ப்ளீட்லி நியூட்ரல் and is willing to intervene if we surrender to him. Rest is all put in place by our own karma as humans only, because no other living being as per Sanatana Dharma can manufacture new karma. It only expends. A dog expends his past karma, right? And trees or other living beings only are relishing or expending their karma by their experiences to some extent. And then when it comes back as human, you have two major potentials we all have. One is we can make new karma, positive or negative, or we can get out of this matrix of karma at all by liberation. அதுதான் இங்க ரொம்ப அழகா இது என்ன ஒரு சித்தாந்தம். இந்த டிசைன் தியரினா we have to explain everything இல்லையா, and the Shastras explain everything. This whole creation is triggered by karma, and the time he comes in as to the actual, what do you call, how can I use the time again in time? The time of actual disturbance is taken care by time. Karma is waiting in pralayam. Eppo in the karma has to manifest as a universe, na, and the interval, na, and the time of creation is what we call as time. Why did it happen then? Adhan Bhagavan Kala Shakti. Correct? And the Brahma, Brahma da Mahattattva, you will see that. So here, Maya gave birth to Mahattattva. He didn't say Chit Shakti become Mahattattva. Sonna Chaitanyam Jadamaidunado. So Bhagavan Jada Shakti, empowered by the consciousness called Chit Shakti of Bhagavan, gave birth. Prasutaha. Then Prasuti Devahuti Lantattu. Prasutaha, it gave birth. Adinaldan we use that example of how generally human birth happens. Adila, our Maya is the Jadam, and Bhagavan puts his Chit Shakti, and then what happens? The Chit Shakti and Kalam together enna pandradhuna in the Maya oda equilibrium abdi sutta vidradhu. And then what happens? The first evolute of Maya. Adavadhu you have clay. The first thing a potter would do is on the clay he'll make it into a ball and then put it in the center of the potter's wheel. That is the first level of this fully finished pot's first evolute. So mud, which was clay, is like Jada Maya Shakti. Mahattattvam na and the clay is now putting it in the right implement and is giving a shape for the first raw material there. That's what is called Mahattattva. And it says the principle of cosmic intelligence in English. And that is what is the first seed or shoot. What do you call it? Sapling? That's shoot. So it comes out, and that Maya is, Mahatattva is full of light. Think, what it means is, use our own experience of waking up. Then you'll understand this cosmological scale. That's beauty. Bhagavan wants us to understand all this. That's why he is giving us a mini experience of creation, sustenance, and dissolution every day, hoping one day we'll reflect on the parallels between these two. We were in this deep darkness of sleep, right? Now suddenly Buddhi came out. What eliminated Buddhi? When I wake up, the darkness is gone, right? And suddenly I feel everything, room is there, bed is there, I am there, this is what I think. What eliminated Buddhi? Buddhi was itself full of light because it is a power of consciousness. So Buddhi out of its light dispelled the darkness of sleep. Do you see the parallel now? Or sleep dark, deep sleep, there is only andhakaram, darkness. And I see nothing, I perceive neither myself nor anything in this world. But somehow that column came and my karma has to be expended. Now sleep, there is no karma, you see. And so my Buddhi suddenly, abdi எழுந்துக்கிறது. Buddhi karthala abdi எழுந்துக்கிறது. Abdi எழுந்துக்கும் பொழுது, what happens is, I suddenly see light. Light is knowledge. Adana light. Ignorance is darkness. Now what dispelled the darkness? Buddhi's light dispelled the darkness of my deep sleep. Poetic. Where did you get the light of Buddhi? Buddhi dampa light. And that light dispelled darkness. So both happened instantaneously. Buddhi irunda, darkness illa. Darkness irunda, Buddhi irukku. But the darkness managed to even encompass that light called Buddhi. That's Acharya. Avaranam. So the moment Buddhi woke up, Avaranam. And then adha Mahattattva. And adha cosmic intelligence. The first thing which wakes up, our Swamiji says, is not our body. Buddhi dhana modalla endu. I am awake. That one which makes you awake also awakens the knowledge that you are awake. Adinalda prakasam. You get what I'm saying? Something is called full of light if it can illumine itself and also other objects. Like if you have a flame, the flame not only illuminates the whole room, it also illuminates itself, saying that I am there. You don't need another flame to illuminate this flame. And this flame illuminates every object around. Na? Likewise, Mahatattva was full of light because of the Chit Shakti in it. But Mahatattva is not Chaitanyam, Jadanda, Buddhi Madiri. But because of his association with Chit Shakti, I am awake. Every object around me, I am awakened to that also. Do you see this? It is announcing itself and also illuminating the world outside. Alda Mahatattva. Alda shoot. Do that parallel with our waking up. And Alda Katala Inda Udane Smarami Sarvalo Kebyo. Yen solrong. Ipudidam Bhagavan Padachan. So Aishnavebhyascha Mangalam Brahma Vasmarika. So here Maya gave birth to Mahattattva, the principle of cosmic intelligence, which is full of light, which means it is full of the light which dispelled the darkness of Pralayam, which means now the creation is now put into the cogs of the wheel of moving. You see? Okay. Vishwam Atmagatam Vyanjane Kutasto Jagadankuraha Swatejasa Pibatti Brahmatma Prasvapanam Tamaha. Exactly what we said. Mahattattva, which knew no Vishwamagatam Vyanjan Kutastoho Swadejsa. It knew no languor or distraction. So, rendu vishayam, languor na the sense of complete layam, and distraction is vikshepam. So, and the avaranam vikshepam rendu illangiradha poetica solradhu. You see, represented the shoot of the tree and drank off by its own effulgence the thick gloom prevailing at the time of universal dissolution, which once swallowed the Mahattattva in order to manifest the universe which lay in the subtle form. So it's a compound sentence. Let me break it down. What I exactly said was Mahattattva was born, right? Mahattattva was full of light. When it is full of light, what happens? Darkness is dispelled. So Romba Alaga Poetica, it is said that darkness which encompassed Mahattattva was drank by Mahattattva itself. You know, the light drank the darkness. So Mahattattva drank the darkness around. Which darkness? That darkness called Avarana Shakti, which managed to even hide Mahattattva, which never is destroyed. Analda inga Kutasto abintar. Kutastona enarthona. When a seed is destroyed, the tree comes into being, right? But here he said the seed was not destroyed. On the example, adodu utturno. இந்த ஸ்ப்ரவுட் வெளில வருது இல்லையா, இதுல சீடும் இருக்கு ஸ்ப்ரவுட்டும் இருக்குன்னு நினைச்சுக்கணும். ஸோ எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஒரு லெவலுக்கு மேல கேன் நாட் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் த ஹோல் பிக்சர். யூ ஒன்லி டேக் அ சாம்பிள் ஆஃப் எக்ஸாம்பிள், அந்த ஒரு போர்ஷன். ஸோ ஹியர் இஸ் சேயிங் கூட்டஸ்தோ அப்படின்னா இட் நோஸ் நோ விகாரம். மகத்தத்துவம் ஒன்று எப்பவும் இருக்குப்பா, அதுக்கு விகாரம் இல்லை. அண்ட் தட் மகத்தத்துவா விச் நியூ நோ லாங்குவேஜ் ஆர் டிஸ்ட்ராக்ஷன் represent the ankuram. Ankuram na the first sapling. It's called the shoot, the small thing which comes out in a sapling of the universe. And because of its own effulgence, which is associated with Chit Shakti, that avaranam is drunk. Ipo enna varaporudhu onnu vikshepam na varaporudhu. Multiple, it is going to evolve. You remember avaranam vikshepam? See, our Kapilavasudeva prepared all of us for this. The pazhaya weeks la nalla kettu nandella, you'll understand. Avaranam is gone. Now the Maya ennarudhu vikshepama marudhu. Now it's all going to be only vikshepam, which is multiplicity, which is evolutes. It's going to evolve. And once that avarana had swallowed even Mahattattva, but now because of time and Bhagavan Sankalpa and Chit Shakti and Jada Shakti coming together, that to Mahattattva abdi 32, it drank that darkness around. If I light a lamp, a poetic way of telling it is, this flame of lamp drank this darkness which filled the room. Abdina or poetic expression. And so the Mahattattva, because Bhagavan Sokamayata, abdina, Bhagavan decided to create this universe. So the Mahattattva, in order to manifest the universe, just like how the entire tree now is in form of this little sapling. Everything is there inside the sapling, right? Everything is there. Fruits are there, flowers are there, leaves are there, branches are there. Where is it? Ippo illappa, you wait. What makes this sapling into a tree na? Adhan prabhavam called time. Our time, it is going to know. So that's why it is said, in order to manifest the universe, which lay in it in a subtle form. The entire tree is there in the seed. And the seed needed the right soil for it to germinate. And Adhan Bhagavan enna panna? He used the karma of all the jivas. He used his own Chit Shakti, reposed it in his Jara Shakti called Maya, and created the ambience for the seed to sprout. Just like how you say, the seed sprouted out as a sapling breaking through the ground. The darkness was broken. The darkness was drunk by this little shoot. And now it is ready to create the whole universe. This is Dakshinamurti Stotram. Yat tat sattva gunam swacham shantam bhagavatah padam yada kur vasudevakyam chittam tan mahatatmakam. Now, takkana adhyatmikam. This is a parallel evolution of the whole universe, and also the observer, which is called man observer observed on the evolution. So, chittam yat tat sattva gunam swacham shantam bhagavatah padam yat ahur vasudevakyam chittam tan mahatatmakam. I told you about worship, na? Inga prasangat, it's not required, but because this is a rasika grantham, along with the tattvam kudaye upasana. That's why I'm adding inga Radha Devi nandada, Lakshmi nandada, varat. But Bhagavata Dharmam, Bhagavat Guna Pradhanam garnala, the Upasana Yoda and the Sagunatoda and Nirgunata Sulin Vanda Rendu Satyam. Two sides of the same coin. So here Chittam, Abdina, the faculty of reason, memory, all that. When you analyze reason, etc., Chittam. You can reason only with a prior knowledge. So the memory and reason are pretty much, intertwined. You can't reason without a past experience, right? And the storehouse of past experiences, the storehouse of analysis and reasoning based on the past experiences is Chitta. So there are 2-3 aspects of Chitta, which abounds in the quality of Sattva. Mudalla vandadano, right from Chit Shakti, there is a lot of Sattvam there. Now Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, all the 3 are Prakriti, Jadamna. But in that, Sattvam is the closest to divinity. Why? It is the first evolute of divinity. The more you go out, and you are more and more separated from divinity. Olagamnu pata romba thalli irukku. See, ipo en odambunu pata konjam kittaya irukku. Then I say my prana na onnu konjam kitta porudhu. Then manasu na onnu konjam kitta porudhu. Buddhi na onnu konjam kitta porudhu. Chittam na romba kitta. So here he is saying the faculty of reason called Chitta, which abounds in the quality of Sattva. Sattva gunam jaasti irukkarnal, it's very close to divinity. Divinity is beyond Sattvam, Rajas, Tamas, no doubt. But Sattva is closer to divinity. Rajas is little far away from divinity. Tamasikam is very far away from divinity. So for us to go towards divinity, we have no other path. You can't jump around. Tamasastu rajastasmat sattvam yat brahma darshanam. Slowly we have to go towards divinity. Sattvam is the morality. Sattvam is our life of discipline. Sattvam is what Adhyatmikam is. So the reason why we put morality makes sense only when you understand the full picture. Morality is not for our own physical well-being. Morality is also for our spiritual well-being. Because dharma, which is sattvika gunam or sattvika dharma, only can take us to the purpose of life, which is realization at some point of time. Many times when you are a child, when there are many things which we are not interested in. Like who wants to read ABCD when you are a child? But then parents make sure they read ABCD if the child just wants to watch videos only. But they understand that at some point of time, the child needs this knowledge so that it can develop. And if we don't expose the child to this knowledge now, tomorrow the same child will come back and tell, why didn't you expose me to reading? No, I can't read at all. I wasted my name watching what I wanted. So whether we like or not, some basics have to be incorporated. Yeah. Likewise, whether we like or not, some basic principles we have to incorporate. Even now, I don't care about spirituality much, sir. When you were a child, you didn't care about alphabets, but you learned it. Now you are very happy. I know the alphabets. You see, Likewise, in this Janma, we may think, I just want to have a nice life, sir, that's all. Adutha Janma eppadi irukum theriyuma? So better to learn all this, to inculcate basic worship, basic jamam, pudikkaradho illiyo. Because when we need it, you can't start then. Then it will be an uphill task. And that is the reason why here it is said, Chittam, which abounds in the actual Sattva Gunam, our dharmamo, morality-o, illana or discipline life-o, we may not think it is essential right now, but there will come a point in our life, if you understand what I'm talking about, where we may need it the most. And the time la adu illa. Right now, I'm indulging in a lot of stuff in the world. But imagine after 30 years, you may not have the energy, or we may not have the capability to indulge, but the palakkapadithidanaala periya suffering of it. But if we manage to somehow be continent or continence in what we do, then as we progress in our life, at that point of time, when our body does not cooperate with all this bogam outside, we won't feel miserable because I have habituated myself in continence. So I know how to இதம்மா இருக்கிறது நான் பழக்கப்படுத்திட்டேன் இல்லையா. So இப்போ காரசாரமா ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் நாக்கு தானே எல்லாத்துக்கும், அதுதான் ஈஸியஸ்ட் எக்ஸாம்பிள். அவர் Prahalada Swami says two things. One of it is Jikhvandra. Rendavathu upastham. So in Jikhva chapalyam is there, for example, when we actually are habituated to having spicy food during our youth. As we become old, it is very clear that even my body cannot accept spicy food now. So now I'll be forced to miserably eat non-spicy food. And I'm being put to tremendous misery because I have not habituated myself in controlling my palate. You see, it is true for all the other sense organs also. So what we need to do is to plan for our whole life. So we have to do things in continence. Aduthaan dharmam. Dharmamna, it is not there to bind us. It is there to empower us so that one day we can be free from all these bondages. Aduthaan Bhagavan tells that in Ekadasi Skandam Uddhava, all the restrictions, rules, and all the boundaries which is set by Vedas is for your own good only, because you may need the power and strength to win over these things at some point of time in this life or in any life. At that point of time, if you follow the sattvika, dharmic conditions and restrictions, etc., you are more empowered, disciplined. Even if you join an army, they need you only during a war, but why are they disciplined every day? Wake up at 6, run, jump, do all this. They are preparing. In case you need it, you don't start then, I'm not able to move. So they are preparing you. Suppose they don't want you to need it any day. Suppose you need it, you can't start then. So you're prepared. Every day discipline. Every day they make you do stuff which are not very comfortable. Why? So that war is not going to be comfortable one day. So for you to be in the state of insecurity and discomfort, they practice. And of course, they do it in a very balanced way so that you enjoy the journey also a little bit and all that they do. When you go to engineering college, they make you do all these disciplines. Why? Because you may need some of it in future. They prepare you for a professional career for you. You may not like it when you are studying it. At times you wonder, why am I doing all this? You don't know. Likewise, same with spiritual life. We don't know when we may need it or in what measure we may need it. So dharmam onnu edukku irukuna, it is the closest to Bhagavan. Dharmasya prabhurachyuta irukadnala, as far as possible continence. As far as possible, don't be enslaved, because now it is alla sokyama irukku. But once we progress, either physically or emotionally, I am ready for something higher, my past is going to be an inertia for me. So minimize that power of inertia, of indulging, etc., so that when you want to actually look forward to grow, you are not burdened by tremendous habits and tremendous dead weight. And that is the reason why Chittam abdin sonnadukka solren. It abounds in quality of sattva, it is so close to Bhagavan. Chittam closest to Bhagavan. It's pure and free from passion and is the place where one can realize Bhagavan. Chittattla da Bhagavat Sakshatkar. He is spoken as Mahattattva. Whenever devas have anything, what do? They run to Brahma. Brahma enna பண்ணுவார்? He runs to Bhagavan. Brahma is closest to Bhagavan. So you find wherever in Bhagavatam, அந்த ஒரு Adideivikama பார்க்கும் பொழுது தேவர்களுக்கெல்லாம் கஷ்டம்னா they all run to Bhagavan. Amrutamathanam Visana, they had a problem, they all ran to Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, I mean to Brahma. Brahma said, let's go to Bhagavan. And kutinu போறார். And so Sattvam, இந்த Mahattattvam தான் Brahma. And the Brahma is the one who is closest to Bhagavan. That's why Bhagavan gave direct instructions to Brahma about Chatusloki Bhagavatam. அப்படின்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? ஞான உபதேசம் சித்தத்தை தான் வைக்கணும்னு அர்த்தம். As Adhyatmikam. இங்க Adideivikam நான் சொல்லிட்டேன். Adibhoutikam சொல்ல போறேன். அதுதான் மகத்தத்துவம். You see the connection now? இப்படிதான் எல்லாமே அவர் மத்தம்னா பார்த்துக்கோங்க. ஒரு விஷயத்த ஆத்தியாத்மிகமா பிலாசபிக்கல் ஸ்பிரிச்சுவலாவும் ஒண்ணு இருக்கு. Adibhoutikam காஸ்மாலஜிக்கலா இருக்கு. வர்ஷிப்புக்கு தேவையான அந்த தெய்வமாவும் இருக்கு. அதுதான் we are going to see. It's called by the name Vasudeva. It is through the cosmic Chitta that they worship Vasudeva foremost in foremost. So the actual Upasana Deivam for Chittam is Vasudevan, which is Bhagavan. Right? That is the reason why Brahma did what? For evolution, he worshipped Vasudeva by penance. And who instructed him in this Chatusloki? Bhagavan himself came and instructed. So now when you understand that, then this you'll understand everything will make sense. In the second canto, சொல்லக்கூடிய சிருஷ்டி வேற மாதிரி இருக்கும். It will be Adibhoutikam. Third canto will talk more about Adideivikam part of it. ரொம்ப ஆச்சரியமான விஷயம். So here God is spoken as Mahattattva and he is given the name Vasudeva because it is through the cosmic Chitta that they worship Vasudeva, the foremost of all four arms. I'll tell you. This is the whole chart for you. If you understand this, you have understood Hinduism. Adibhuta part of it is Mahat, Ahankaram, Manasu, Buddhi na போறது இல்லையா? இது Adibhutam. Mahat means they call it cosmic intelligence. அதுதான் cosmic chittamனு பேர். You see? Adhyatmamனு சொல்லும்போது when it comes to me as a person, as my own, what do you call? My own organism as a human, chittamனு பேர். And the Adhishtata, the one which is the Adhishtanam for that is Kshetrajna, is the Adideivika portion. Upasanamna Vasudevan. So Chittata vechinde Upasanamgarda Vasudevan kitta panna vendiyadhu. Ahankarathukku Adhishtata yaru, Deivam yaru, Adhishtana Deivam yaruna Rudran. அந்த ருத்ரனுக்கு யாரு உபாசனம்னா சங்கர்ஷனன். அதனாலதான் சம்ஹாரம்னும் பொழுது ருத்ரன்னு சொல்லுவா, சங்கர்ஷனன் தான் வாயை திறந்தான். லாட் ஆஃப் திஸ் ஃபயர் கேம் அண்ட் finished off this universe எல்லாம் சொல்றதுலாம் எதனால அந்த ருத்ராம்சம் அதுல இருக்கிறதுனால உபாசனம்ங்கிறது சங்கர்ஷன. இதுதான் வாட் இஸ் இட்? திஸ் இஸ் கால்ட் ஆகமம்னு பேர். திஸ் இஸ் வைஷ்ணவ ஆகமம், வர்ஷிப் பார்ட் ஆஃப் இட். மனசுன்னா அத்தியாத்மம் இஸ் ஆல்சோ மனசு. யூ ஆல் நோ வாட் மனசு இஸ். And then Adhishtana Devata for that is Chandan, Chandrama, Manasu, Jataha, அப்படின்னு புருஷ சுக்தம். And the Upasana Murti is Aniruddhan. Right? So, அந்த மனசு உபாசனை பண்ணும்போது அனிருத்தன் அப்படின்ற அந்த உபாசன தெய்வம். அண்ட் புத்திக்கு யாருன்னா பிரம்மா. அந்த பிரம்மா என்ன பண்றாருன்னா பிரத்யும்னன்கிறது தான் உபாசன தெய்வம். பார்த்தேன்னா வாசுதேவன் தான் பகவான் ஸ்ரீ கிருஷ்ணா, சங்கர்ஷணன் தான் பகவான்ஸ் பிரதர், பகவான் சன் வாஸ் அனிருத்தா, பகவான்ஸ் கிராண்ட் சன் ஆஃப் பிரத்யும்னான்னு அவன் லீல பண்ணும்போதும் இந்த வியூகமூர்த்தியை வச்சுட்டே லீல பண்ணியிருக்கான். அண்ட் அவ்வளோ தட் இஸ் ஹவு பகவான் came down to show spiritual path இல்லையா? So he ensured இந்த தத்துவங்கள் எல்லாம் took form when Bhagavan Sri Krishna came down. And Radha Devi was the Hladini Shakti, our Lakshmi Devi தான் ருக்மிணி, சத்யமாமா தான் நீலா. அந்த மாதிரி he has created his own எதெல்லாம் தத்துவமா இருக்கோ எல்லாம் இறங்கி வந்துச்சு. அதுதான் பியூட்டி ஆஃப் கிருஷ்ணா. அதான் பூர்ணாவதாரம். 5000 வருஷம் முன்னாடி நடந்திருக்கு, நம்ம எல்லாம் இருக்கோம்னா பெரிய விஷயம். So இதுல I will come back to it next week, but இது ரொம்ப அழகான விஷயம். நம்ம சுவாமிஜிக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச, அவர் சுவாமிஜி once gave us the highest Vedantic teaching in form of Devi Kalotramnu. It is very rationally Vedant. அதுல ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச விஷயம் இந்த சித்தம்னு வருதுனால I will conclude with this. சித்தம் சிறிதசய சம்சார நிச்சலமாய் சித்த நிலை நிற்க முக்தி சித்தம் இது சித்தம் இது சித்தன் திறமாக்கவே வேண்டுமாதலினால் தீமான் பரமாம் பிரஜையினிற் பாரக் தோருமையுறும். என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா, சித்தம் சிறுதசைய சம்சாரம். ஏன்னா சித்தம் is closest to our ஆத்மஸ்வரூபம் or பரமாத்ம ஸ்வரூபம். If the சித்தம் is moving this way towards மனசு புத்தினா அப்பதான் சிறிது அசையும். சித்தம் as சித்தம் is very pure. It is like purest form of water which is about to fall from the sky. But when the water get mixed up with air and earth etc., it becomes contaminated. சித்தம் as சித்தம் அசையாம இருந்ததுன்னா அதுதான் முக்தின்றார். ஏன்னா the moment சித்தம் is drawn by புத்தி, மனசு, அகங்காரம் இப்படி போயிடுதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், then what happens is it becomes சஞ்சலம். So our Ramana Bhagavan says, சித்தம் சிறிது அசைய. If there is a sanchalam in சித்தம், it is called samsaram. நிச்சலமாய் சித்த நிலை நிற்க முக்தி சித்தம் இது. If the chitta is நிச்சலம்னா இதுதான்ப்பா முக்தி அப்படின்ற. Same thing Patanjali Maharshi says, he didn't say மனவிருத்தி நிரோதா சொல்லல, புத்த விருத்தி நிரோதா சொல்ற, யோகா சித்த விருத்தி நிரோதான்னு. அதே சித்தம் சித்தத்துல விருத்தி இல்லாம அப்படி இருந்ததுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, ஸ்டெடியா அப்படி சைலண்டா இருந்ததுன்னா இட் இஸ் ஆக்சுவலி ரிஃப்ளெக்டிங் கான்சியஸ்னஸ். அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்னா இட் அபைட்ஸ் இன் கான்சியஸ்னஸ். ஸோ அதுதான் சித்தத்துடைய கிரேட். ஆனால் when you do வாசுதேவா வர்ஷிப் பண்ணோம்னா அந்த வாசுதேவன் என்ன பண்ணுவான், நம்ம சித்தத்தை தான் கிட்ட இழுத்துப்பான். அதனாலதான் ஹையஸ்ட் வர்ஷிப் வாசுதேவனோட வர்ஷிப். தப்பே பண்ணும். துருவன் தப்பு பண்ணானோ பண்ணவே மாட்டான். அண்ட் சங்கர்ஷண பகவானோட வர்ஷிப் யாரு பண்ணா அப்படின்னு பார்த்தா, we find in our Bhagavatam the சித்திரகேத்துன்னு ஒருத்தர் சங்கர்ஷண பகவானை வர்ஷிப் பண்ணார். சங்கர்ஷண பகவானை வர்ஷிப் பண்ணதுனால தான் he interacted with ருத்ரா. கைலாசபதி கிட்ட போய் கிண்டல் பண்ணி அதெல்லாம் ஏன் பண்றாருன்னா, why should he go to கைலாசம் அப்படின்னா, சங்கர்ஷண பகவான் உபாசனால is directed towards ருத்ரன், which is the அதிஷ்டாத்தா of சங்கர்ஷண பகவான். அதோட பார்த்தேல அகங்கார், ஒரு அகங்கார், even though he was a உபாசகா, அந்த தத்துவத்துல கொஞ்சம் அகங்காரம் இருக்கிறதுனால ஒரு பாகவத அபச்சாரம், which is லோக குரு கைலாசபதிய ஒரு அபச்சாரம் அப்படி கிண்டலா பேசுறாரு. ஆனாலும் since it was பரமேஸ்வரா லோக குரு, he blesses சித்திரகேது through பார்வதி தேவி obviously to actually become a asura without losing his devotion. So அந்த அகங்காரம் கொஞ்சம் இருக்கு இல்லையா, அசுர சுவாபம் இல்லையா, அதை என்ன பண்ணிட்டார், அவன் மனசுல இருந்து எடுத்து சரீரத்துல வச்சுட்டார். பட் மனசு இப்ப சித்தம் எப்படி இருக்கு, நிர்மலமா ஆயிடுச்சு. So he had this tremendous love towards Bhagavan because that அகங்கார கலங்கம் சித்தத்துல இருந்து எடுத்து இந்த சைட் தள்ளிட்டார். இந்த சைட் தள்ளினா என்ன அர்த்தம், சரீரத்துல போட்டுமே. If the chittam is having a problem and sariram has the problem, no, obviously we would vote for let the sariram have this problem, சித்தம் நிச்சலமா இருக்கட்டும்னு அந்த சித்தத்துல இருக்கக்கூடிய ஸ்மால் சஞ்சலச்ச சித்திரகேது கிட்ட இருந்து அப்படி தள்ளி விட்டுட்டார். யாரு எல்லாம் லோக குரு தானே பண்ண முடியும், ஜெகத் குருனாலே கைலாசபதி தான். சோ ஹியர் அவர் தட்சிணாமூர்த்தி அப்படி, ஏன்னா அவர் உபதேசம் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கார் பார்வதி தேவி. தட்சிணாமூர்த்தி என்ன பண்ணிட்டார், he completely removed that அகங்காரம் of our சித்திரகேது. சின்ன கொஞ்சம் இருந்திருக்கணும், அதை பாடியில தள்ளி விட்டுட்டேன். நீ அசுரனா போ அப்படின்னா அந்த அகங்காரம் என்ன பண்றது, it manifests itself as an asura. அசுரானாலே என்ன அர்த்தம்னா, அசோ ரமந்தே தி அசுராஹா, one who constantly is indulging in his prana. ஏன் சரீரா ஏன் பிராணம் இருக்கிறது அசுரன் அர்த்தம். அதனால சரீரத்துல அசுரன் ஆயிட்டான், ஹிருதயத்துல பிரேம. you see, இதெல்லாம் தான் ஆச்சரியம். இதெல்லாம் நடந்த விஷயம், இதெல்லாம் தத்துவ விஷயம், இதெல்லாம் இப்படி காட்டுற விஷயம். ஒன்ஸ் இந்த பிளான் உங்களுக்கு புரிஞ்சிருச்சுன்னா பாகவதம் தொண்ட 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 வந்துட்டே இருக்கும். If you look at what Shankarshana Bhagavan did na, அப்படியே இதெல்லாம் காட்டும். And if you see what Aniruddha did na, அவன் லீலை எல்லாம் பார்த்தோம்னு வச்சு, அனிருத்த லீலா எல்லாம் மனசோட லீலையா இருக்கும். இங்க போனா அங்க போனா பிரத்யனம் எல்லாம் புத்தியோட லீலையா இருக்கும். சோ அப்படியே பகவான் came down with all this, இதெல்லாம் நடத்தி காமிச்சிட்டான். Many times a guru would want to demonstrate na really. So he will take a small event and he will demonstrate to us the meaning of the event by actually doing it. And the madri Bhagavan practically showed all the tattvas by taking that form, which is his eternal form. He brought all his family along. Analdam Bhagavathila Ashrayamgarthu Krishna Kathala ella adakkum. And if you know all the tattvam and see Krishna Kathana, rasikavum mudiyum purinjikavum. இல்லைன்னா இதான் கேள்வி கேட்டா அப்படின்னு ஆயிடும். பட் பை குரு கிருபா யூ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த தத்துவா பிஹைண்ட் ஆல் தீஸ் திங்ஸ்னா யூ வில் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் ஏன் இப்படி நடந்தது. ஒரு வாரம் புரிஞ்சுக்கலாம், பகவானை ஃபுல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்க முடியாது. you can relish a little bit, oh, and that is the beauty of our Bhagavata Dharma. It is all encompassed. Entire Sanatana Dharma is in Bhagavata Dharma. That's why initially it is said, Shruti Saharam Yehekam. இந்த மாதிரி வேற எந்த புராணம் எந்த சாஸ்திரமுமே கிடையாது. நீங்க உபனிஷத்துன்னு எடுத்தாலும் ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட் ஒரு உபனிஷத்துல காட்டி. But Bhagavatam shows all aspects of Upanishads, all aspects of Karma Kanda, all aspects of Jnana Kanda, all aspects of Prema. எல்லாம் அதுதான் beauty with Bhagavatam. We will come back to this Upasana and Chittam, and we'll start with Chittam next time. Now that you have understood how Mahattattva உடைய உற்பத்தி தான் ரொம்ப கஷ்டம் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறது. And since we have sort of struggled through that and we understand it now, next week we'll talk about Chittam, Buddhi, Manas, Ahankara, Vidyasam. And we'll try to see if we can relate a lot of Bhagavata Katha, which is going to come in the future chapters, to this wonderful, idu purinjintona idhaan Sankhya psychology, spiritual psychology. Matta psychology la at best will make you mediocre. You know, that's the whole premise of psychology. Na? If you have more fear than the rest of the universe, they will put medicine and make your fear average fear. Abhayam kudupala psychology la kudukka mudiyadhu. They will make you mediocre. If you are below average, they make you average. But Sankhya psychology will make you excel spiritually and take you beyond all these. Even it will make you transcend the mind. That's a Sankhya. And so that is why it is a very unique gift given to humankind. Samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam. Secret da samsarigal had a tremendous karuna he had, compassion he had for samsaris, and Shukamani blessed us with that. We will see the four vyuha, the vyuhananella, the vyuham of consciousness nala maradu, and the vyuham of this individual consciousness is this chittam, aprom manasu, ahankaram, buddhin, and the vyuham nalu. Cosmological vyuham அப்படிங்கிறது வாசுதேவன், சங்கர்ஷனன், அனிருத்தன், பிரத்யும்னன் இல்லையா? அதெல்லாம் வியூகம். வியூகம்னா எவல்யூஷன் தானே. அந்த எவல்யூஷனே பாருங்களேன். You have Bhagavan, Bhagavan's brother, Bhagavan's son, Bhagavan's grandson, அது எவல்யூஷன் தானே. அந்த மாதிரி தான் தத்துவத்தோட எவல்யூஷன் நடக்குது. That is the beauty of our Bhagavatam. We'll see the rest in the coming weeks by the grace of